the exploratory vessel USS Orville embarks on a mission to find the whereabouts of two anthropologists last seen on an Earth-like planet. Despite its similarity to 21st century Earth, the planet's citizens subject one of the crew members to their unorthodox justice system. In the 25th century, humanity has joined an alliance of interstellar civilizations called the Planetary Union. Among the Union's fleet is the USS Orville, a spacecraft tasked with exploring the galaxy. Captain Ed Mercer commandeers the Orville alongside his first officer and ex-wife Kelly Grayson, as well as a crew of humans and aliens. A young woman, Lysella, wakes up and goes through her morning routine while a new show plays on TV. On the show, the host interviews two men who were caught committing a crime and are making a public apology. A bar on the bottom of the screen displays a pair of triangles, a green upright one and a red inverted one. Next to the triangles are similarly colored text of quickly moving comments. The men on TV and the young woman watching from home all wear oval badges on their chests featuring the same red and green triangles. The triangles represent downvotes and upvotes respectively, the totals of which are also visible. Moments later, Lysella demonstrates her right of suffrage by pressing the red triangle to downvote the guests on the TV show based on how she feels about their appearance and how the votes are trending. Hours later, the two downvoted men, now wearing orange jumpsuits, are taken by guards to the correctional facility. Upon seeing the inside of the room, one of them tries to escape, but a guard shoots him down. The remaining man is strapped to a chair and an intricately wired helmet is placed on his head. Seconds later, a man in a suit announces the start of the final vote. On a screen in front of the restrained man, the downvotes rapidly increase. When it reaches 10 million, the man in the chair appears to get electrocuted and he screams out in pain. 1 month later, the Orville arrives on Sargas 4, a planet strikingly similar to 21st century Earth. Isaac, an artificial life form from the planet Kalon, shares this data with the crew, based on findings by Union culture anthropologists. At Second Officer Bortis' inquiry, Captain Mercer recounts their mission to investigate two missing Union anthropologists on Sargas 4. According to the captain, the researchers reported successfully integrating into the planet's culture before ceasing all communications over a month ago. In another room, the landing team, comprised of Commander Kelly Grayson, Lieutenant John Lamar, Lieutenant Alara Keaton, and Dr. Claire Finn, fusses over their disguises. Keaton, in particular, reluctantly settles on a traditional Sargas 4 hat to conceal her distinct forehead. The captain then arrives to advise them on the planet's capitalist culture. Keaton is initially confused when Mercer explains the concept of money, and Grayson cautions the team to expect more surprises, given their limited information about the planet. Mercer reassures Dr. Finn that Lewis, one of the missing anthropologists and the doctor's former colleague, is fine. The captain rebriefs the team on their mission to find and retrieve the anthropologists, all without interfering with the culture. Later, the landing team descends to the planet in a cloaked shuttle. In a city on Sargas 4, regular everyday interactions warrant upvotes or downvotes on each person's badge, depending on the nature of the interaction. Compliments or good deeds earn upvotes, while arguments or conflicts result in downvotes. Citizens simply reach out and press the arrow of the other person's badge however they see fit. Eventually, the landing team arrives in the city and the team approaches a newsstand. Grayson shows the vendor photos of the two anthropologists, revealing that they were the men on the TV show earlier. She asks if he's seen them before and the man thinks they're kidding, implying that everyone should know who they are. The vendor points the team toward a cafe the men used to frequent, but is alarmed when he notices that they don't have badges on. He warns Grayson and the others that they could get arrested without them. Fortunately, the vendor offers to sell them counterfeit badges with preloaded upvotes before he turns them away. As the team makes their way to the cafe, they notice everyone else wearing the contraption. Lamar then teases Keaton about her dating history and how she might find someone to date on the planet after her last two failed relationships. Keaton reasons that it's difficult to find a guy who doesn't get insecure about her superhuman strength. She adds that her last boyfriend danced weirdly, which Lamar proceeds to simulate on a nearby statue. The lieutenant's antics attract attention and bystanders film him on their mobile devices. Grayson reprimands Lamar and the team heads towards the cafe. Inside the cafe, Lysella refuses a woman's service for having over 500,000 downvotes, per the establishment's policy. The barista then greets Grayson's team and flirtily upvotes a flattered Lamar. Grayson then asks the young woman if she's seen the anthropologists in the pictures. Lysella informs informs them that everyone knows the two for having been corrected a month ago. Suddenly, Lamar's badge starts accumulating downvotes, much to the group's confusion. The team then turns to the TV where the news shows footage of Lamar dancing on the statue which a bystander uploaded to the master feed. With the lieutenant's badge number made public, people proceeded to heavily downvote him. When Lamar exceeds 500,000 downvotes, Lysella advises that he leave the cafe immediately. Outside, people recognize the lieutenant and a mob forms. Grayson reports the situation to Mercer, while Keaton fends off the crowd. Soon, Lamar's downvotes reach 1 million and the commander thinks it's best if they return to the shuttle. Before the team can leave the scene, police officers block their path and arrest Lamar. On the Orville, Admiral Tucker chastises Mercer for Lamar's failure to maintain a low profile amongst a lesser-developed alien culture. Mercer defends the lieutenant and requests clearance to extract him, but the Admiral denies his appeal. Tucker consigns Lamar to abide by Sargas IV's rules, to Mercer's frustration. In a precinct, Lamar speaks with Wilkes, a publicity officer, or a person who guides criminals on how to proceed after an arrest and help rehabilitate their image. The lieutenant is confused why his stunt led to the arrest, prompting the publicity officer to explain their society's unique judicial system. Lamar's lewd dancing on the statue of honored figure Mela Giffenden was filmed and uploaded to the master feed. From there, people's outrage manifested into 1 million downvotes, which categorizes it as a state crime. Wilkes then informs Lamar that he'll need to do an apology tour where he'll appear on several TV shows to express his regret for his transgression and wait for more people to cast their votes, ideally in his favor. At the end of the tour, the criminal is set free should his downvotes remain under 10 million. Lamar breaks into incredulous laughter, so the publicity officer clarifies that he'll undergo social correction should he fail the apology tour. Social correction entails a series of neurological treatments that'll pacify all potential negative impulses. The possibility of undergoing a foreign procedure worries the lieutenant. Meanwhile, Grayson reports their status to Mercer, taking full responsibility for what happened. The captain informs her of the Admiral's order to not interfere, as she explains the point system of the culture. In a detention room, the team is allowed to speak with Lamar for 5 minutes. Grayson informs the lieutenant of the Admiral's orders and agrees to accompany him on the apology tour. Lamar explains the brain-altering punishment should he fail, leading Dr. Finn to think the primitive tech might inflict permanent brain damage. This causes the arrested man to panic, screaming at the police about being a spaceman, but Grayson calms him down. She asks Dr. Finn if there's a way to reverse the damage, in case Lamar does fail, and the doctor muses she'll need someone who's undergone the procedure to understand how it works. Keaton remembers the missing anthropologist who Lysella told him had been corrected. Dr. Finn wonders what Lewis might have done to warrant correction, as Grayson concludes they need to find the two men. The publicity officer interrupts them to inform Lamar of his scheduled appearance on the chat. The chat turns out to be a talk show, and the publicity officer coaches Lamar to be just the right amount of humble as he issues his apology. The 3 female hosts review his incriminating footage, then read aloud a few hostile comments from the master feed. Seconds later, Lamar is beckoned to the set with the hosts, as he proceeds to glibly issue a formal apology. Mercer and the rest of the bridge crew witness the TV feed of the chat, with the captain in disbelief at the public vote-based legal process. Isaac observes it as an absolute unstructured democracy, which he deems as unprecedented. Malloy likens it to a government operating by American Idol rules, confusing Bortus. As a Moclan alien, Bortus only knows brutal forms of entertainment given the highly militarized society on his home planet. Bortus fails to see the point of such a contest, as Malloy refers to the singing competition as archaic. Back on the chat, the host forms an increasingly poor opinion of Lamar's apology, sensing his insincerity. He then mentions donating to the Mela Giffenden Foundation, but the hosts question whether he even knows what makes Giffenden a hero. Lamar scrambles for words and the hosts catch on to his ignorance, so they call for a vote. After the vote, Lamar's downvotes increase to 4 million, but the publicity officer waves it off, saying there are still more shows left to do. Meanwhile, Dr. Finn and Keaton approach Lysella at the cafe and ask her about the missing anthropologists. Before Lysella can answer, a man wearing a hat similar to Keaton's takes offense to her wearing his culture's traditional headwear, demanding she take it off. The scene attracts the attention of people nearby, their devices recording and poised to upload another transgression. Keaton makes excuses not to blow her cover, but Dr. Finn interrupts with an apology and ushers her away. The two hide in a restroom where Dr. Finn improvises a headscarf from her blouse. Before she can put it over Keaton's forehead, Lysell walks in and sees the alien's unusual appearance. Keaton and Dr. Finn prevent the barista from leaving the restroom, promising not to hurt her and invite her for a drink. Later, at an outdoor cafe, day, the two women explain their true nature as alien explorers to Lysella. The barista asks if they have supernatural abilities, and Kitan demonstrates her strength by bending a butter knife with ease. The two then probe Lysella about the fate of the anthropologists. Lysella recounts how the two men failed to give up their seats to a pregnant woman on a packed train. Caught on camera and uploaded to the master feed, the men received massive downvotes, eventually leading to their correction. Dr. Finn notes that it was in character for the hardworking Lewis to fail to notice things around him. Lysella then mentions that one of the men got killed while trying to escape correction, but can't identify which one. The barista says corrected people are sent home, and recalls one of the men telling her they reside on Capella Street. Minutes later, the three women enter the residence in question, with Kitan finding a man sitting on a bed. Dr. Finn recognizes Lewis and asks what happened to him, but he merely gives canned robotic responses. The doctor tells Kitan she needs to bring Lewis back to the ship. On another talk show, Wilkes tells Lamar that exhibiting any sort of talent might net him sympathy and stem the flood of downvotes. Lamar's entrance is met with boos from the audience as he jovially slaps the front row people's knees. The host isn't pleased with the lieutenant's shenanigans, further framing him in an unflattering light. Grayson criticizes the publicity officer, but the man claims he's doing the best he can. Back on the Orville, Dr. Finn is unable to get any useful information out of Lewis, deeming the brain damage too severe for treatment. She informs Mercer that the condition is akin to being lobotomized, a fate they cannot let Lamar suffer. Meanwhile, another round of votes conclude, and the lieutenant's downvotes reach over 9 million. Wilkes gloomily comments that at this point, Lamar is to return to detention to wait for the final summary vote. If the lieutenant manages to stay below 10 million votes, he'll be safe. However, Wilkes admits to Grayson that her friend's chances of walking free are slim to none. Grayson reports the information to Mercer, who replies that the correction process is irreversible. The captain formulates a plan to work around Admiral Tucker's express orders to not extract Lamar. Mercer instead asks about Lysella, who he intends to bring aboard the Orville. Later that day, Kitan transports an awestruck Lysella to the spaceship. Once inside the meeting room, Mercer asks the young woman for any way to help save their incarcerated comrade, because she knows more about her planet's justice system. Lysella explains absolute democracy as giving equal weight to every voice, to which Bortus counters that every voice should be earned and not given. Isaac surmises the system confuses opinion with knowledge, while Kitan asks how truth can be determined with so many voices chiming in. Lysella quotes her father's adage, "The majority are the truth," believing that the desires of the majority are what matters. When Mercer asks if public perception can be influenced to save Lamar, Lysella mentions the master feed. Kitan explains the feed as a continuous stream of opinions everyone has access to. Mercer wonders whether the feed can somehow be used to reverse public opinion, but Lysella admits the challenge of changing the minds of millions. Isaac, however, suggests a plan. Back on the planet, Lamar now wears a prison jumpsuit and is escorted to the correction room. He panics, and the guards force him into the chair as Wilkes tells Grayson there's 7 minutes until the final vote. She reports this to the Orville, where Isaac has gained access to the master feed. At Mercer's inquiry, Lysella advises using carefully worded positive comments about Lamar to counter the negative tide. At Lysella's suggestions, Isaac floods the feed with millions of comments, all indicating sympathetic stories about Lamar. Isaac confirms that people are sharing the comments, and while Dr. Finn expresses concern about people possibly checking the legitimacy of their claims, Lysella assures the doctor that people won't bother fact-checking anything. Moments later, Lamar's downvotes exceed 9.5 million, prompting Mercer to brainstorm for one last sympathetic story. Lysella and the crew soon come up with the idea for a video of Lamar as a war veteran reuniting with his pet dog. Isaac synthesizes the heartwarming video and proceeds to upload it to the master feed. Despite the downvotes greatly outnumbering the upvotes, when the count ends, the downvotes stop just 4 votes shy of 10 million. Wilkes cheers on Lamar's win. As the lieutenant celebrates his immediate release, he dishes one last taunt to the guards before leaving the facility with Grayson. Meanwhile, Mercer thanks Lysella, who wishes she can tell somebody about her experience aboard the ship. Dr. Finn suggests Lysella can start by telling her world they can do better. Having rescued Lamar, the Orville soon departs that quadrant of space. The following day, Lysella goes through her usual morning routine. However, instead of voting on the fate of another supposed criminal, she turns off the feed.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.